up, if anything. So any help would be appreciated. Don't just tell me to pick up the telephone and call the copyright.
I just went through the website. I didn't talk to nobody. I actually did everything through email and processing and website processing.
Okay, what website? It's so vague that it seems like it has to be on purpose.
But for anybody who wants to, who has concerns about that, then take it up with the copyright, because
Armando, I can't take it up with the copyright because the copyright isn't an organization. When I took it up with the United States Copyright Office, the result was that there is no registered copyright for your book. So that's not the copyright, in which case who is? What's the website? I'd love to know. Again, I would love to be proven wrong here. I'd love to think that you're better than what seems to be happening here. I'm not hopeful, but I'll try to keep a little candle of hope burning. It's being buffeted pretty hard by the winds here, but I'll do my best.
Copyrights, when you send something in to get something copyrighted, they make sure that it's not stolen. They make sure that it's not plagiarized. They make sure that all the material is original, all the material came from you.
It's possible that when you submit something to the US Copyright Office, they run some amount of a plagiarism check. I don't know for sure, but it's possible. But you don't appear to have done that, so what's the relevance?
So that's that, okay?
Really? You're just going to pretend that settles the issue? My book's totally not plagiarized, and if you disagree, call the copyright? Seriously?
I don't know what else more you guys want me to do.
I think that I and quite a number of others have been abundantly clear about what would be required for you to actually salvage any of your reputation. But see, now it's not just about plagiarism, now it's about your assertions that you've registered this copyright, which appear entirely unverifiable. Maybe that's a great way to deflect future criticism of the plagiarism. Just do something else ridiculous and hope people criticize that instead. It's not the strategy I'd use, but maybe it's effective in that very limited and pointless sense.
I don't know if you want me to call up every author, such as Frank Turek, Norman Geisler, J. Warner Wallace, if you want me to contact them directly and ask them if it's okay that I did this, because they're going to tell you the same thing, that yes, it's okay, because they do the same thing.
To the best of my knowledge, no, they don't. If they're also plagiarizing shitbags, then when they do it, it's far more limited and far less obvious. But I went through quite a bit of I don't have enough faith to be an atheist, and I didn't see anything there that jumped out at me as obviously someone else's words. Except quotations, obviously, but that's different. Ideas, yes, obviously the arguments for Christianity are tired and old and everybody uses them. But that's not the point. Stating the same idea in your own words is not plagiarism. But now you've just openly accused Frank Turek, Norman Geisler, and J. Warner Wallace of committing insane amounts of plagiarism in their books. Well done. I'm sure that'll be helpful for you somehow.
Such as every other book writer who uses ideas from other people and elaborate on those ideas and publish books.
Armando, discussing similar ideas as other people have already discussed is not plagiarism. That is not what's at issue here, and you fucking know it. Don't even pretend you don't know that. You're dumb, but you're not this dumb. Come on.
But at the end of the day, I already got my book verified, checkmarked, copyrighted, and if anybody has a problem with that, then I mean I don't know what to say. That's up to you guys.
There's no way. There's no way. There is no way that this is self-delusion, and there's no way that this is just stupidity, right? Right? Am I wrong? Am I right? I just can't stop being fascinated by this. Until I get a clear answer as to what's going on inside that head, I don't think I'll ever stop being fascinated by this.
But my book has been verified, God is, and it's republished.
I just left that in because I wanted it to be absolutely crystal clear that we're still talking about God is. The worst example of plagiarism I have ever seen in my entire life. That's what he's claiming suddenly has no problems because some anonymous person apparently verified it and checkmarked it and copyrighted it. He seems to sincerely think that the opinions of some anonymous jackass, who probably doesn't even exist, mean that he never did what he provably did. He's gotta be just a chronic liar, right? Right? He can't believe this. He can't. There's no way he can believe this. Right? Right?
And like I said, I just want to thank every single one of you for your love and support. It's been financially helping me. Like all the videos about my book, they think that it's defeating it, but it's actually helping my book. It's promoting my book.
Yeah, I don't care about promoting your book, man. It's not a problem. It just sucks that I can't convince you to be honest with yourself about what's happened. In the end, that's all that matters, but it just doesn't seem possible. Or maybe it's already happened, maybe you're perfectly honest with yourself, but you're just incredibly, overwhelmingly dishonest with everyone else. I don't know which. I still can't make up my mind.
So far, I haven't seen any imbalance. I haven't seen, statistics from my sales or anything go down. It's been slowly going up. It's not skyrocketing, but it's slowly going up.
Do you mean total sales or do you mean weekly sales? Because your total sales won't drop because it's a total. The only way that can go is up. Your weekly sales though? No, I don't buy it. Especially considering that God Is wasn't listed on Lulu for months before this video. How could your sales go anywhere for a product you weren't selling? But again, with this vagueness on your part, so I don't know exactly what you're trying to say to me. Words are hard. It'd be much easier to steal them.
Purchasing my book is helping me. Okay, it's helping me because all the finances and every type of financial, anything financial that I get from it, I'm putting it towards new stuff. Writing another book, or maybe releasing a short film.
Don't threaten me with a good time, Almondo. You're trying to discourage people from making videos about your ridiculous plagiarism-riddled book by telling us everything we would possibly want to hear. Look, do you need money to write a new book? Do you need money to make a short film? Do you want somebody to fund you? Because forget me buying your book, forget me promoting your book, I'll just give you money for that. We can set up a business arrangement here. If you need money to make whatever your heart desires, we can make that happen, alright? You underestimate what a big fan I am of your work. And I want to be clear about this. I was very sincere before when I said that I want to see you succeed instead of doing this over and over. To me, that's the best case scenario. But since you seem hell-bent on doing anything but that and demonizing anyone who tells you it's a bad idea, you might as well get some entertainment out of it. Alright, now there is more that I want to say about this video, but this is the point where he stops talking about God Is and starts talking about a conscious universe. And this conscious universe part is going to go on for quite a while, so I think this is a very sensible place to take a break, and I'll come back with the conscious universe part as a different video. That makes a lot more sense to me than switching to a different topic and then trying to push through a whole pile of that stuff right now. So, thank you for watching, and if you would, before you go, please give the video a like and click subscribe if you haven't, and if you like the channel, please consider supporting. Even a couple bucks per video or per month helps a huge amount, and huge thanks to all my supporters who've already made that choice. For early access, email list.logic.com, and I'll see you next time.
Was a pretty interesting show. Even though you're not an android, you have some great... Here's a gift. Take it before... Now, which battle shall I enjoy? Who will you fight with? Now... Okay. Ready. Fight. That was a... Even though you're not an android, you have some great... Here's a gift. Take it Now, which battle shall I enjoy?
I drew our family in school today.
Oh, wow!
Carrie drew two mommies.
This one.
She told
Again.
me they're married to each other.
You can see the mom's
Really?
face absolutely fall when she hears such a horrific thing from her daughter, right?
My teacher says that all that matters is that people love each other and that they're happy.
This is a Jehovah's Witness cartoon called Caleb and Sophia. This actually made its rounds forever ago, this specific episode, because it is so absolutely grotesque and wrong the way that they demonize other people. This episode is called One Man, One Woman. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up again after all these years is because Jehovah's Witnesses have decided to go down this road once again. So I want to talk about this one, talk about Jehovah's Witnesses' view on being gay in the first place, and talk about some of the updated clips that they've released recently to kind of steer their congregation the way they want them to go. So let's watch through One Man, One Woman one more time so we got it fresh in our heads, and then talk about the new material they released. So she's looking at a drawing of a fellow classmate's family where two moms and then the kid, and they're all happy. And this doesn't make sense to her, because how can you be happy and gay simultaneously? What?
Look, Mom. I drew our family in school today.
Oh, wow!
I didn't have time to finish Caleb's face. Carrie drew two mommies.
There's her mom's face absolutely falling at the idea that her daughter was exposed to the gay.
She told me they're married to each other. My teacher says that all that matters is that people love each other and that they're happy.
Well, people have their own ideas about what is right and wrong. But what matters is how Jehovah feels. He wants us to be happy, and he knows how we can be happiest. That's why he invented marriage the way he did.
Right, you're talking about how, like, every single major Bible patriarch had, like, 16 wives, right? One man and 16 women? Is that how he invented marriage?
That's why he invented marriage the way he did.
You mean one man and one woman?
Okay, that's not how I remember it. I know that there's one weird little verse in Genesis about that, but I seem to remember an awful lot of very highly esteemed Bible figures, very well-respected figures, breaking this exact tradition that they're referring to here. Marriage is not, in the Bible, it's not as cut and dry as Jehovah's Witnesses and many others wanted to make it out. But okay, continue.
Exactly. Look at Genesis 1:27. Jehovah created Adam and Eve, male and female. Then in Genesis 2:24, he said that a man will stick to his wife.
Oh
Here,
no.
Jesus said the same thing. Jehovah's standards haven't changed.
Well, I mean, Jesus was describing, how people in that culture tend to go about marrying or whatever. He wasn't taking any position on gay marriage. He wasn't taking a position on trans issues or any of that other garbage. Jesus said absolutely nothing about the gay community or the trans community or any of that other stuff. And trust me, they existed at the time. There were people at the time who were gay and trans and whatever else. And Jesus, for some weird reason, didn't seem to think it was relevant. knowing he's the Son of God, and people would dissect every word out of his mouth for 2,000 more years. Didn't think it was important enough to put in there. Interesting, right?
It's kind of like going on an airplane. What would happen if someone wanted to bring something on the plane that wasn't allowed?
We can't go on the trip.
Right. It's the same with Jehovah. He wants us to be his friend and live in paradise forever.
Well, if that's what he wanted, he could snap his fingers and do it, right? Why all of this messing around and blaming other people for this and that and telling them they have to drop their gay off like a bag at an airport if they want to make it into heaven and all of that other garbage? Why? What, isn't he all powerful? Can't he just snap his fingers and put us in paradise just like that? I don't understand why he is so hyper focused on everybody's sexuality. Like, why is it that he created the vastness of the universe, created massive stars, thousands of times bigger than this planet that we're on, which is massive in its own right, and he is hyper-focused on what you do with the stuff between your legs when you're in your bedroom.
But we have to follow his standards to get there. At Matthew 7:13 and 14, it talks about the road leading to paradise. To get there, Jehovah says we have to leave some things behind.
Then remove those things.
Leave
Why
the gay
would you
behind.
those things in the first place? If that's
God
the case.
doesn't
And
want
for
the
record,
gay.
Again, being gay is not like dropping something off like a bag in an airport. It doesn't work that way. Why doesn't he just take it out of our heads and put us in paradise? Why does he want to make us suffer intentionally? This makes no sense at all. And for that matter, if God watched Adam and Eve sin or found out that they sinned, why didn't he just quarantine them, give Adam a vasectomy, and create a new breeding pair so that this whole sin thing wouldn't be a problem in the first place? Nothing about this entire situation makes any sense at all. Every step of the way, there are better decisions that God could have made than the ones that are described in the Bible or by Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons or any other religion out there. There were better decisions to be made. Now, I'm just some regular old human down here, bebopping along, and putting the most minimal amount of thought into this situation. God is supposed to be an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-wise, all-intelligent being. And he didn't think about this stuff at the very beginning? When Adam and Eve very first sinned, he didn't think to himself, you know what, I'll let them live their life. I'm just going to prevent them from reproducing and I'll create a new breeding. He didn't think to himself, you know what, there's a tree in that area that if they eat from it, they're going to die. I better put them in America instead of Israel, right? That's probably a better decision. He didn't think about any of this, really? And now he's blaming you for his bad decision making. I just want to really drive this home and draw out why it's such a ridiculous proposition in the first place. God manufactured this whole situation, all of it, and he's blaming you for the position that you're in. I don't blame Adam and Eve for knowing basically nothing about the world and eating from this tree when they were told by a talking snake, supposedly, that this was safe or whatever. I don't blame gay people for living their lives and enjoying themselves and doing what they want to do. I do, however, blame Jehovah's Witnesses for being hyper-focused on what gay people do with their lives.
That means anything Jehovah doesn't approve of.
But I want everyone to get to paradise.
So does Jehovah.
Here's where it gets disturbing.
And you know what? People can change. That's why we share his message. So, what can you say to Carol?
So what they just did was encourage. I mean, this is propaganda. It's designed for children to take and implement the things that they hear, right? They just put in a cartoon, an encouragement for children who are watching to go to school and tell their classmates who might have gay parents or who might be gay themselves that they're wrong and they're going to die in Armageddon if they don't correct course now. They need to leave their gay behind like it's a gym bag. That's what they just did. How many little Jehovah's Witnesses do you think there are running around, going to their classmates, and repeating this garbage to them after this thing came out? How many? I mean, there are 8.5 million Jehovah's Witnesses out there, right? How many of them took this message to heart and decided it was better that they destroy a friendship than this kid die in Armageddon? Thousands, certainly, right? I was one of those children when I was little. This TV show wasn't out when I was little, so I didn't get this specific message, but I was absolutely expected to be anti-LGBT.
Say to Carrie.
Well, I could tell her about the paradise. I could tell her about the animals and the resurrection.
And if she doesn't fall in line and tell her parents about these things, she won't make it to paradise. She won't get to experience this stuff. She is expected to tell her parents that they are living a sinful lifestyle. And if they want to be saved and make it to paradise, they have to split up. That is some sick shit, man. Seriously.
And the resurrection.
That's awesome! Let's practice.
That was a pretty interesting.
So anyway, that's the Caleb and Sophia video that really garnered some backlash. That is by no stretch of the imagination the only example of them criticizing the LGBT community or other ridiculous, stupid issues. Things that don't even matter, like nobody cares, just let them live their lives, that type of thing, right? They recently came out with a video. This is, I think, Kenneth Cook. He's a governing body member. This is from the February 2023 JW Broadcasting episode. I believe they have a TV show where they talk about various different issues. Now, before we watch this, I just want to tell you this. Jehovah's Witnesses are completely uninvolved in politics by mandate. They're not allowed to be involved in politics. To the point where they're not allowed to say the Pledge of Allegiance. They're not allowed to join the military. Even if they're just cleaning toilets, they're not allowed to. They're not allowed to vote. They're not allowed to support one political campaign over another. Not allowed to donate to them. Honestly, they're not even really allowed to talk about political candidates. I mean, they can and they won't be disfellowshipped. But if they express support for one over the other, Trump or Biden or anybody else, they risk disciplinary action. They stay completely separate from politics and always have. Oh, except for that one time the leader wrote a supportive letter to Hitler telling him that he agreed with how he felt about Jews. There was that one time, I guess. That was Joseph Rutherford. That's not the subject of the story, though, today. The subject of the story is this weird political issue that Jehovah's Witness governing body member Kenneth Cook decided to get himself involved in. Listen to this. See what he has to say. February 2023.
We see it in their so-called gay marriage. We see it in the gender blurring that the world is promoting. You don't have to be a man or a woman, they say. You can be whatever you feel like or choose to be. Really? What does Jehovah say about that?
I find it so fascinating that they're bringing this up right now, that they're talking about this, that they're seemingly picking up this political issue, right? It's like they picked up on this culture war issue, this trans panic that does not exist, and they're screaming about it. It's bizarre. It's like the satanic panic from the 1980s. I don't know if you guys remember this, but back in the 80s, there were some crazy number, like 17,000 false reports of satanic ritual abuse and stuff at daycares and kindergartens and preschools and stuff. It never happened. Not one of those reports were verified as true. Not one. And there's another moral panic happening on the Republican side right now. The Republican side of politics is saying trans people are trying to take over. They're trying to convert your children to be trans and all this other crazy stuff. That's not happening. I'm just wondering where Kenneth Cook is getting his news sources, because this is so out of the ordinary for them to get involved in a moral panic that's taking place in American society.
What does Jehovah say about that? In Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 5, he told the nation of Israel that, quote, a woman must not put on the clothing of a man, nor should a man wear the clothing of a woman.
They actually use this as the pretext to not allow people to dress up as like the opposite sex in their dramas or in their movies that they produce or whatever other thing. You're not allowed to dress up as a man if you're a woman or vice versa, and that means you can not even for theater. It's crazy to the degree that they'll go. It's just nuts.
For anyone doing so is detestable to Jehovah your God. If that is how the Creator feels about the switching of clothing, how much more detestable he must view the world's attempts to blur the lines of gender with false labeling,
Like, can't people just live their f***ing lives and do what they want to do? Like, who cares? You know, there's something called the F scale. I don't know if you guys heard this or not. If you watch me regularly, you probably have, but I'm going to say it again anyways. The F scale is a personality test developed in 1947 by a guy named Theodore W. Adorno. It's basically intended to measure an authoritarian personality. Remember, this is 1947, after World War II. The idea was to gauge whether a person was likely to side with authoritarian extremist regimes after World War II. Here are some of the qualities you can expect in somebody who's willing to side with an authoritarian dictator or an extremist, like we saw in World War II. Conformity to traditional societal norms and values, an obsession with religion and ethics, obsession with superstition, with power and toughness,
Kitty, stop.
rejection of all inwardness, of the subjective, the imaginative, the tender-minded, of self-criticism. And here's one of the more important ones right here. Exaggerated concern with sexual goings-on. Can't people just mind their own business and live their lives and do their thing, and not engage in this ridiculous moral panic? I don't understand. Why are they so obsessed with this stuff?
Recently, the World Health Organization adjusted its view of gender. It now states that, quote, there are many genders existing on a spectrum from male to female. It added that gender identity exists on a continuum, and that sex is not limited to male or female. Again, really?
I mean, is that even true that the WHO said that? I always go with science, no matter what. If science says that gender is on a spectrum or a continuum or whatever, that's what it is. You know why? Because science is how we come to know things objectively. Science deals strictly with facts and logic, and that's it. Now, if scientists run studies and talk to people and psychologists determine that gender is on a spectrum, gender's on a spectrum. Simple as that. And even if it weren't, why do you care? Why are you so obsessed with this? It's almost like you have a predisposition or an exaggerated concern with sexual goings-on. Who cares? Let people live their lives and do their thing. Why are they so preoccupied with this? It's like they absolutely insist that there's some kind of a cabal that's out there trying to orchestrate this thing where they're gonna destroy society or something. Seriously, why do they care? Why do they care what society thinks or what society's doing? They're supposed to run their own society as Jehovah's Witnesses. They're supposed to be their own government, right? In the end, governments will fall and they'll all come after Jehovah's Witnesses and all that, and they're supposed to be positioned to step in as the makeshift de facto government in the end. That's what Jehovah's Witnesses believe. Why do you care what the outside world's doing? Why are you engaging in this moral panic? It is so weird that they got so politically involved. I really wish I knew what this guy's sources of information are. But it's telling that he's engaging in a moral panic like this. It tells me that he's probably involved in politics to some degree in his personal life, watches it to some degree, and he's taking in conservative news sources. Governing body member of Jehovah's Witnesses. That, in my opinion, that's what we can glean from this.
Talk about an attempt to tear apart what Jehovah has made. So then even government agencies on a global scale are getting involved, and they are critical of anyone who does not adopt their warped view.
Dude, seriously, I've heard this exact perspective from far-right nutterbutters like Kent Hovind and Kenneth Copeland and Hank Kunneman, televangelists. I mean, legit people. People with megachurches. It's so weird to hear these people engage in this type of language when I hear it so frequently from political actors.
Proverbs 19 verse 3, it explains, it is a man's own foolishness that distorts his way, and his heart becomes enraged against Jehovah.
Stop it.
And going back to marriage, Jehovah instituted the arrangement to be a perfect bond between a man and a woman. At Matthew 19 verses 4 and 5, we read how Jesus emphasized this while he was on the earth. Quoting from Genesis 2:24, he said this, have you not read that the one who created them from the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this reason a man will leave his father and his mother and will stick to his wife, and the two will be one flesh? He made them male and female, and the two will be one flesh.
Yeah, they see again, once again, F scale, conformity to traditional societal norms. Can't handle the fact that people deviate a little bit from traditional norms and societal values. Can't people live their own lives? Do their own thing? Why do you care? Why does it matter to you? It's like they're obsessed with forcing their worldview. I'm sorry, it's not like that. It is that. They are obsessed with forcing their worldview on everybody around them at any cost.
Jehovah's purpose for humans is clear, but Satan's world now says that marriage can be between two men or two women.
The horror.
That marriage can be between two men or two women. Again, really? We can be certain that promoting this corrupt view is part of Satan's attempt to ruin mankind.
Or, bear with me, maybe people are just living their fucking lives. You ever knock that one around the old noggin? You ever consider that? Maybe people just want to do their thing, and it's between consenting adults, so who cares? So like right now, Leonardo DiCaprio is being criticized for dating a 19-year-old. He's 50, I think. Throughout history, he has only ever dated people between 19 and 25, I believe. You can look at charts and see that he only dates people in that age range. And when they hit 25, he splits up with them and then dates the next 19-year-old. And yeah, you know, I get that's weird. It's kind of weird, right? But guess what? Who cares? Two consenting adults. They can do whatever they want, right? It's creepy and strange. But whatever. Do your thing, man. I'm not your dad. Be my guest. As long as it's between two consenting adults, who cares? It's like that old joke. You look outside and you see blood splattering all over the inside of your neighbor's basement window. And you ask yourself, what's the neighbor doing? The answer is minding his own business.
Part of Satan's attempt to ruin mankind, to make them so abhorrent to Jehovah that he would abandon humans and his purpose for mankind in the earth.
He would, Jehovah would abandon his purpose for mankind on earth. What? I thought he never changed his mind. I thought the plan was set in stone. I thought that he had a master plan that was going to be, executed from the beginning of time to now, right? What happened to all that? That's weird. Is it possible for him to abandon mankind?
But that will never happen. God's purpose for mankind and their home will be fulfilled. Just like the disgusting names of the false gods that humans have given to the literal planets, the false labeling of human...
Oh my god, he's upset that people named the planets like Mercury and Mars and Jupiter. I think they're Roman gods, aren't they? They're from the Roman pantheon. Yeah, from the Roman pantheon is what most of the planets were named after, apparently. That's really funny. God, they get so bent out of shape over the smallest, most insignificant stuff, don't they? Seriously, I know from personal experience. They absolutely get bent out of shape over stupid stuff. I mean, I was raised in it until 18 years old.
Just like the disgusting names of the false gods that humans have given to the literal planets, the false labeling of humankind and the immorality will not continue. For his own namesake, and for those who love him, Jehovah will bring to ruin those ruining earth.
Okay, and I guess that's trans people, right? Trans people, gay people, anybody who is to the left of hunting the homeless for sport, that's a problem, right? Out of curiosity, I wanted to look up what their positions were on trans issues or gay issues, basically LGBT issues in general, right? Now we saw the Caleb and Sophia video at the beginning, and we obviously heard what he had to say just now, but I want to see on record what they had to say about this subject. So I went to their library, their online library thing, and just kind of typed in trans, I think, and I came up with some kind of disturbing stuff. This one is from the Awake magazine in 1974. Now, this is not outdated in Jehovah's Witnesses theology. This still applies today. This is still valid. If people believe that they're trans, they come to Watchtower Online Library and they find this, and it's still used in the theology to establish their active position. So let's read it. I want to read this, but there are words in here that are considered slurs today. I don't know if they were considered slurs at the time or not, but either way, they have no respect for the trans community. We just heard what they had to say about it, so don't give them any slack for that reason. But I am going to replace the words to be more modern interpretations or more modern versions of what they should be. Oh wow, check this one out. Who are homosexuals is the title of this article from Jehovah's Witnesses Awake in 1976. First of all, it is wise to get some distinctions clearly in mind. Not all homosexuals are to be confused with, well, some of these words are slurs now, so I'm going to replace them with more words that we use today. Don't give them a pass on the fact that these were not slurs at the time necessarily, though they would still happily use them. They have no respect for the trans community now. Not all homosexuals are to be confused with trans people or transgender people. The latter is a person who may wish he were of the opposite sex and who may even dress and carry on as though they were. Some individuals go as far as to become transgender. I guess they're saying somebody who has had the operation. So what they're saying is there's a spectrum, apparently. Jehovah's Witnesses in 1976 believed that there's a spectrum. You start out on this end of the spectrum as just a little gay. Like maybe even bi, right? Maybe you're just a little bit bi. And as you move further and further along the spectrum, you're super gay. Ew, women are gross. Oh God, I love guys. Okay, and now I'm trans. That seems to be like Jehovah's Witnesses' view of the spectrum. Oh my God, dude. Oh, it's painful. It's so stupid, it's painful. So anyway, that's Jehovah's Witnesses' view. The trans phenomenon. An intersex is an unfortunate person whose sex is ambiguous by birth. And a trans... I'm just trying to read it as it's written, replacing the words. And a transgender, on the other hand, is one who, for psychiatric reasons, decides to undergo surgery and be physically changed from one sex to another. Regarding the latter, the comments of Albert Rosenfeld, science editor of Saturday Review/World. I have no idea who Robert Rosenfeld is or what Science Review World is or why I should care, but okay. The words of this guy are apparently appropriate. I have been surprised to hear so little debate or discussion about the ethics of surgical sex change for purely psychiatric reasons. The transsexual phenomenon points up to our propensity for underrating people's willingness to accept circumstances they would once have considered outlandish, and for underestimating the speed at which this process occurs. The speed at which the process occurs? What's he talking about? Well, I guess that's Jehovah's Witnesses' position on the subject, right? Let me just point something out. The ethics of surgical sex change. I mean, this is an argument that's been trotted out by Republicans for like a long, long time now. And apparently this argument's been around since 1974. If Jehovah's Witnesses are repeating it. This is the argument, the prevailing argument right now. People feel like something's not quite right, so they start presenting as a different gender. What is wrong with that? Seriously, can't people live their lives, do their thing, without being harassed constantly by Republicans or Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons or anybody else? Why can't they just live their lives? You know, when I left Jehovah's Witnesses, it's been a very restrictive religion for decades and decades. It controlled every aspect of my life. Every aspect. When I left it behind, I had choices. I had to decide when I left. Am I going to try alcohol? Am I going to try smoking weed? I had to decide, am I going to celebrate birthdays? Am I going to present as a woman? Am I going to be trans? Am I going to be gay? These things cross your mind when your life is so restrictive to the degree that Jehovah's Witnesses' lives are restricted. And some of those things I chose. I celebrated birthdays. I celebrated Christmas when I left. Some of those other things I didn't choose. Being trans, being gay. You know why? Because it wasn't up to me. I had complete and total freedom to present as a woman if I wanted. But guess what? I didn't want to. Because I'm not. They seem to be obsessed and hyper-focused on the idea that everybody, every man, wants to be a woman secretly. And if they spread this idea around enough that you can be a woman if you want, then everybody, every single person will become a woman. Every man will become a woman.
17 million, Zenny.
It's possible. Complete
That's the tournament, right?
absurdity, outside of logic. Jordan Peterson actually did a debate or whatever with Kyle Kalinske a little while back on this issue.
What?
He made some wild, bizarre claims about it. Listen to
I don't
what he had to say
understand.
here.
If you agree that adults can decide to transition, then why would the physician be criminal? Don't adults have that right if they want to transition?
Complete dead silence. I actually have this sped up 1.5, so it's like 50% faster. And it's just dead silence for like 10 seconds or something.
Not everything legal isn't criminal.
No, that's inaccurate. If it's legal, it's not criminal, and vice versa. That's how the legal system works. You can say not everything that's legal is moral, but by definition, things that are legal are not criminal.
Do they have that right? See, I would have left Paige alone if she hadn't been parading her.
It's Elliot Page. Elliot Page came out as trans recently, and Jordan Peterson decided to come out here and attack him, try to destroy his reputation, and complain about all this other garbage. But we're getting to the point here. Keep listening.
How many kids do you think she can convince to convert?
This is the point right here. How many kids do you think could be converted by one public trans person?
One?
Yeah,
1,000? No, not yet.
No,
Really?
I want to respond to that. I think that with the trans community, it's very similar to the gay community, where back when that first became a big issue, people thought, oh, if we talk about it, if it's in magazines or whatever, we're promoting kids to go down that path. But really what happened is, people are who they are. If
That is
they're gay,
what
they just decided to be like, yeah, I'm gay.
That is what happened. Are you hearing this? This guy supposedly has a PhD in psychology, and he's saying gay people were converted to be gay by other gay people coming out and being public about the fact that they're gay. You wouldn't be gay unless you knew somebody else that was gay. You must be joking. This is the same mindset that Jehovah's Witnesses have. How did Jehovah's Witnesses get sucked into, I mean, the governing body member, Kenneth Cook, how did he get sucked into this political view? This blows me away. There's another point I wanted to hit with this video, though. Keep listening.
And honest with themselves. So I don't think you're promoting people to do
No,
that.
that's
You're
not
saying,
what happened.
if you
You're
are that, it's
completely
okay.
wrong.
Okay,
You're
well,
utterly
I'm
wrong.
listening.
There's
I'm
nothing
listening.
about that that's right.
Then prove it. He's so completely full of everything that he says is dumb as dog. Everything out of this guy's mouth.
I knew the literature on psychogenic epidemics. They used to call that mass hysteria. It's a literature that goes back about 300 years.
No, it's literature that is 300 years old. The psychogenic thing is a claim that people can pick up a psychotic episode. They can pick up mental diseases by proxy, by just being in a room with somebody. It's pseudoscience. They had no idea what they were talking about 300 years ago. This isn't something that's been studied for 300 years. It's something that was studied 300 years ago that Jordan Peterson used as the pretext to back up the idea that people will catch the gay if they're in the room with another gay. Seriously. You can't tell me that he didn't know that. He looked this literature up, saw it was 300 years old, saw that it was medically fucking ridiculous that somebody can catch a mental condition by being in the same room. You can't tell me he didn't know that was bull.
Well, you can catch religion.
Whenever you introduce
That's a
all
mental
religions,
condition,
social confusion, you
right?
introduce the psychogenic epidemic, especially among
There's no such thing as a psychogenic epidemic. Again, 300-year-old literature, none of this has been validated in modern times.
generally it's adolescent females who are most susceptible to it. So I thought, oh well, what's going to happen is we'll produce a psychogenic epidemic of gender dysphoria among adolescent females. And that is exactly what's happened. And it is
Shit.
the fact that we've freed up people who are in doubt about their identity to be who they are.
Okay, that's a positive claim. It is not that this happened. Prove it then. Of course he's not going to. Of course he's never offered a lick of evidence. He doesn't need evidence for his followers to believe everything that he says. How many kids are getting this surgery? Do you know the number? It's 0. You're not allowed to get trans-affirming surgeries, bottom surgery, top surgery, or whatever, until way later. You have to be working with psychologists for like a long, years and years before you can get any kind of surgeries. And to my knowledge, there is nowhere in the country that will give trans-affirming surgery to somebody that's under 18. And if you're under, say, 14, it doesn't matter anyway. There's no surgery you can get. It's like mastectomy surgery. You don't have breasts before a certain age. But logic doesn't matter in these cases, right?
Look, I read a corporate analysis of the trans surgery industry last week. Growth rate projection for you lefty types and your anti-corporatism. Growth rate projection, 15% per year. Invest now, a $350 million business as of 2022, projected to expand to $750 million by 2027. No moral hazard there?
What? Oh my god. Okay, that's what I was looking for in this clip. Oh my god, this is ridiculous. So the guy is saying the medical industry is profiting off of trans-affirming surgeries, and that's why they're doing it, is for money. And it's going to grow by 15% per year. How long until it's at 100%? And you heard him earlier, he said psychogenic episodes. He believes that being trans isn't real. That's what he seems to believe. Being trans is not real. It is only caused by other people around you also being trans, because you are catching this mental disorder just by virtue of being in a room with somebody who had it. Not talking to them, not communicating, not having conversation, not spreading an idea. No. This is about being in close proximity physically. You have a neighbor and you're on one side of a wall, and your trans neighbor's on the other side of a wall. You can catch this from them. That's what this psychogenic episode thing is that Jordan Peterson is describing. I am dead f***ing serious, okay? I looked up the literature he's talking about. Anyway, that's the idea behind trans hate in conservative circles. That's the premise that they work off of to hate the trans community. And you know what that sounds like to me? That sounds an awful lot like Jehovah's Witnesses' position on organ transplants from back in like the 1960s, 1970s. Everything that Jordan Peterson just said was complete and total, unadulterated pseudoscience. Not based in reality in any way, but none of that matters. Jehovah's Witnesses' position on organ transplants has been very similar. Check this out. This is jwfacts.com. Fantastic website, by the by. Love this guy. Paul Grundy, I think is his name. Awesome dude. Really built something incredible on this website. Anyways, Watchtower 1961, August 1st, page 480. Questions from readers. Is there anything in the Bible against giving one's eyes after death to be transplanted to some living person? LC, United States. This is straight from the Watchtower. This is the Watchtower Society telling you how they feel about transplants in 1961. The question of placing one's body or parts of one's body at the disposal of men of science or doctors at one's death for purposes of scientific experimentation or replacement in others is frowned upon by certain religious bodies. However, it does not seem that any scriptural principle or law is involved. It therefore is something that each individual must decide for himself. So conscience matter, i.e. it's okay. If you want to donate your organs or whatever to somebody, that's okay. 1961. 6 years later, 1967, they flipped. 1975. A particular factor sometimes noted is a so-called personality transplant. That is, the recipient in some cases has seemed to adopt certain personality factors of the person from whom the organ came. They believed in 1975 that if you receive a liver transplant from somebody, you will take on the personality traits of that person. 1980. There is no biblical command pointedly forbidding the taking in of another human tissue. It is a matter for personal decision. Flip-flop, with absolutely absurd reasoning on both ends. Every time they flip-flopped, there was absurd reasoning. This should tell you something about how Jehovah's Witnesses view the world and why I feel the conservative viewpoint and the Jehovah's Witness viewpoint, particularly on trans issues, is bull. It's garbage from beginning to end, all of it. And it only serves to hurt other people, nothing more. These people contribute nothing of value to society. They have no place to receive tax-exempt status. They do nothing but harm the people around them. They should be paying taxes. And it's absolutely egregious to me that they're not. For what it's worth, Jehovah's Witnesses did have their tax-exempt status or their status as a religion removed in Norway recently. I intend to talk about that later. That means they're not receiving subsidies as a religious organization. So that's a plus, I suppose. We need to do something here in the United States. We need to remove their tax-exempt status. Jehovah's Witnesses want only a very specific set of people in. They don't want to deal with living around scumbags like people who don't love Jehovah, apostates, gay people. They don't want scumbags in their little paradise with them. That's the way they view it. And it's just, you know, you don't know what it feels like to be persecuted until you're actually persecuted. Until you're mistreated for some intrinsic quality about you. Like being disfellowshipped from Jehovah's Witnesses and being mistreated by them for who you are. You don't know what it's like until you experience it, and it hurts. You know why it really matters to them? Because of the F scale. An obsession with religion and ethics, with superstition, with power and toughness, conformity to traditional societal norms, conventionalism, exaggerated concern with sexual goings-on. They have to control every aspect of your life. And they have to make sure everyone else's lives are controlled too. It's not fair for somebody to live their life and enjoy it. Absolutely disgusting. The grotesque positions, not based in science in any way, that these people hold. And they are actively hurting the people around them. We must remove their tax-exempt status. Let me know what you think about it in the comments.
Another channel. He doesn't care about your channel.
Like
You
you
just
said,
wanted
you
on
would
your
do it on my
channel, so you lied
got
and
the
said
emails
that
that
he would only
say that.
debate you. You lied. Okay?
No, I've got
Secondly,
the emails that say that, so I haven't lied.
okay, post them right now. Publicly post them.
No, I'm not going to
because
post
you won't because
emails
you're
between
lying.
me and Professor Dave.
Yeah, see, you're lying. So I'll
No,
post
I'm not
these
lying.
DMs. That's the difference in you and me. And,
I've
I'm not trying to take
literally
over the room,
got
but this is
emails
obviously
when
pretty
we were
important. I
talking
think
about it,
any
and you
flat
can-
earther knows
Anyway,
that,
Austin,
that me
you're
debating
making a bunch
Professor
of drama
Dave
that
is
doesn't
important.
need to be there. The debate is there
Every
if you
time I
want it.
talk, every time I talk, you interrupt me. Okay? The
I
only
was
reason I'm bringing
actually
this up in this
talking to
room,
me there, so-
there you go again. The only reason I'm bringing this up in this room is because this is pretty important for Flat Earth as a whole, right? Like
Yeah,
that
but
when
you
you
let him
Google
pay,
Flat
you
Earth,
let him get
Professor
paid, yeah.
Dave pops up. Okay, so
Austin, nobody cares. He said? What is he talking about?
Hey guys, it's another one of those needed update videos because things will be changing a little bit here on the channel due to necessity. I had to go to hospital last week and it was from pericarditis. It's inflammation with the type of muscle or sac around the heart. So my health hasn't been getting better, basically. And I've been seeing the writing on the walls for several months. When I say several months, almost a year, really. And I've been working towards trying to put in place plans to account for it. And I'd like to share what those plans are with you with a bit more information. So, what has been going on with my health? If people are, been following the journey in regards to my rare kind of update videos, is I have chronic fatigue and sleep apnea. I went in and had 2 surgeries, a throat surgery and a nose surgery, to try and clear up the pathways. And it's interesting how people have been saying I've been more active since. I kind of have. The result of the surgeries had cleared up my sleep patterns sporadically. So I'd have sporadic times of better sleep, therefore better energy. I'd get out and do more. But it's been on the gradual decline as well. I'm seeing a doctor about my chronic fatigue, and he is basically ready to diagnose me with chronic fatigue syndrome, that the chronic fatigue actually isn't coming from the sleep apnea. The sleep apnea might actually be coming from the chronic fatigue, which is your muscles basically relaxing, your air pipes close while you're sleeping, you stop breathing, and then it messes up the type of, REM patterns or whatever that you need to be in. But it's also for the body to get a proper sleep. And that messes up everything. As a result, this has just been a gradual decrease in health for a while once again.
No!
I'm not sure if it's going
Wrong
to get better.
Vegeta.
Working with the doctors, my health isn't getting any better. And one of the difficult things with chronic fatigue is there's a compounding effect with your energy levels because you become unfit because you don't have the energy to be active, which means you're unfit, which means you don't have the energy to get, and so on and so forth. To get outside, to do videos, especially high energy videos, has been extremely taxing. I can show you some background footage of me just struggling between takes to get this stuff done. There are videos that are easier for me to do than other videos. For instance, sit-down videos. Why am I in a chair right now? It's easier to do. And so Night's Watch content, I can manage that just as well. But for the Shadowversity content that I want to make and I know you guys love, how will I manage it? Well, as I said, there's been something on my mind that I knew I've had to kind of try and move towards for a while. And this isn't only a thing of necessity, I actually think it'll also help lift the channel and improve the channel, expand the content, and enable me to make more content for you. And that is bringing on more people on Shadowversity. Shadowversity, in terms of me in front of the camera, has mostly been a one-man show with the occasional helper that comes in now and then. You've been seeing them more and more, the guys I work with. Great guys. Sometimes we move, like, guys come on, they help out, find out it's not a good fit for them, or we find out it's not a good fit, and then we move through about it. And I've appreciated every single person I've worked with. And so they're all been great guys. As I said, you've probably seen them a little bit more present in the videos. Now, what I'm moving towards, and I guess this is the big announcement, is there's going to be additional regular hosts here on Shadowversity, not only helping me make content, but moving towards also them making content as well. Before anyone gets worried, I'll always be here, always be present in the videos, making videos. It's my passion, I love it. I just have to balance it with what I can do, with my ability and my health. So the two people that like one of them I approached a while ago, and we're already in the process of making videos together, is first, Kramer from Living Anachronism. You might have seen his videos. He makes awesome videos. I get along so great with Kramer. We've been in contact for quite a while. He will actually be appearing on Shadowversity videos to do videos, first not in person, there's a bit of a distance gap of course, but working with him at distance to make content in a collaborative way. Also perhaps even dedicated videos that will come out here on Shadowversity. And Kramer is such a passion for this stuff, and he makes awesome videos, and he's going to make awesome videos for us here on Shadowversity as a co-host and then regular host going forward. And it's not just Kramer though, also Nate V. Yeah, you might have seen Nate V in some of his backscatter videos. He's appeared here on Shadowversity already actually, and is a massive medieval enthusiast, loves all this stuff, and is able to actually join me in person to do videos as well. Help me out as a co-host and moving towards a regular host. And with Kramer, we are hoping to move towards where he can actually come over here to Australia. If things work out, exactly the same thing. So this will enable me to not only maintain the type of videos I want to do and be present in the videos, but in the things that are too taxing for me, these wonderful people, these wonderful guys will be able to help me out and get that content done, as well as by having more regular additional co-hosts, this means more videos for you guys as well. So it's a bit of a change, okay? It's Shadowversity, and it's always been just, Shad on the front page. But Shadowversity has always been about the kind of the things that Shad enjoys, and other people clearly have enjoyed this as well. And so I want them to be able to have an opportunity to also make the Shadowversity themed content. So instead of Shadowversity meaning an individual, I want it to mean the type of content that I've always been passionate about. And it's always been a play on university, Shad University. Well, it's like we have new, professors coming on board to help us make this great content for you, and that will be Nate and Kramer. I'm actually quite excited for it. We already have two videos actually, in the works from either one of them, and they'll be out shortly. Again, more content, enable me to keep making the type of content I want as well, and I think it's a win-win. Also, this will help save a bit of time for me as well, because I want to keep making those graphic novels. I want to find more time to write, and so moving the channel towards this kind of content, I hope will work out. And I'm confident you guys will enjoy it because it's going to be great content. Same type of content you'll have enjoyed on Shadowversity for a long time so far and into the future as well. It's interesting because a lot of YouTube channels end up actually moving towards this kind of thing. Probably not for the exact same reasons as I'm, needing to do it, but some of the same reasons, but not all of the same reasons. The health issues are the main reason. Not everyone, I guess, deals with that necessity, but it's also needing to move on and expand. Okay, they do bring on additional people on the channel. I think of SciShow. Okay, it started with Hank Green, and they bring on additional hosts and still able to make great content, the same type of content the audience enjoys. That's my hope and plan for Shadowversity. And as I mentioned, I'm confident, I'm actually excited that this will make more content for you, expand it, enable us to do more and bigger, better things as well. Like the giant sword projects, right? I wouldn't have been able to do that on my own with my current health levels, okay? I don't have the energy to be making large wooden props and all that for, days at a time to prep for videos anymore. But because I have Tyrant and Nathan here, and they're able to help me produce that as well. You've already seen Tyrant on the channel, and he's getting a larger presence as well, okay? Because this enables me to do bigger, better things for you. That's the update. That's where we're at. I hope you guys can be excited for it. I hope you'll give these new co-hosts a fair chance. And look, I think I'll win you over the first videos because they're genuinely awesome. Brilliant. So I hope to see you on those future videos. And until then, farewell.
And it's really quite a thing. There's pictures of people, and they're not screened off from other people.
They are not.
The baths next door. It's like going, well, I'm here to have a bath. You're here to have a bath. We're at the bathhouse.
Shadowverse.
Hello, I'm MC Toon. Today's video is by a guy called The Biker Scout. Now, this is a video from 2015, but it was reposted on TikTok recently. You won't believe the stuff he says, especially the very last thing he does is blatant lies. It's just over the top. You watch this.
Greetings, fellow humans. I'm The Biker Scout. And a little background about me, other than the obvious Star Wars reference. I ride a motorcycle full time. But I'm a professional designer and photographer first. I've been using Photoshop since 2.0, is that 1990-ish? So I know my way around a computer and photo editing software. And I just had to make this video in response to the crap that NASA's been feeding us as scientific proofs for the general archives and public domain. When in fact they're employing very amateurish photo retouchers. I'm a stickler for details and an avid pixel peeper.
Ooh, a stickler for details, you say?
And I'll tell you what. If I was employed by NASA, the fake images would be flawless. There are so many absurd photographic anomalies in their archives, but I'm only going to focus on a couple that have all been released within the last few months here in 2015. So let's get started. Alright, let's go straight to the horse's mouth here and download the image right
Why is there nothing
website.
but...
The first thing that this stickler for details missed was that he downloaded that particular photograph from the website.
The ones that have so many characters in one team are the hardest for me. I have a huge problem with these. And every single one of these is at least 3 people. Holy shit.
So why wouldn't this stickler from details just go right into the website and download the highest resolution one?
With an exact sphere, that means they used Photoshop to delete the background, but they didn't do a very good job. As you can see here, there's a bunch of little random pixel anomalies floating in space. Most obvious, that nobody really saw until you invert the image is up here. This is a strip of blue.
I think I already know what he's talking about. Probably about the dead pixels in the camera.
Sky cloud that somebody forgot to erase. Now, this is very obvious when you invert the image back.
That is partially correct.
Or maybe not.
The person that made the website took the original one, brought it into Photoshop, shrunk it down to make it suitable for viewing on a web page. You could go to the original, and you would find on the original, like I did, that those things aren't there.
There's a lot of things about this image that I don't really like in terms of clarity and definition that just can't be taken from a 4 megapixel camera from 1 million miles away. I mean, the detail's astonishingly ridiculous. I mean, you can clearly make out the Central Valley in California. You know, you can see land details. And I'm sorry, 4 megapixels, 1 million miles away. I don't know.
So why is it a problem that you can see the detail from this distance? Why? No idea why. You didn't say anything other than, I don't know.
Let's check out Commander Scott Kelly's photograph of the Earth, Moon, Venus transit. First, let's open it and do what we did before. We'll invert the image, and we'll see if there's any strange things afoot. My suspicion was the lens flare. Looked too hollow.
Oh my god, you have to beat him really, really, really fast.
But I was blown away when I saw this really glaringly obvious cover-up of something. Now, to me, it looks like they just took the brush tool and blocked something out by just selecting black, but they didn't use the eyedropper tool to sample the nearest color black. So they're, like I said, blacks aren't all the same once you start looking at it as an inverted image. Looks black. Now, they may have blocked something out for artistic reasons, but as soon as you do that, it's a manipulated image, and you can't claim it as authentic.
Well, maybe you should look at what they claim about it. This isn't part of a science mission. It's just a photograph that Commander Kelly took and then tweeted. So, did he edit the bottom of it and remove something there? Probably. It might have been something in the way. He wasn't trying to hide anything. And if somebody had manufactured that image, that's not how they would have done it. It would have been consistent.
Everybody might remember this one. This is the famous moon transiting the Earth in front of NASA's Discover satellite that's 1 million miles away, parked out in geosynchronous orbit. Okay, let's right-click this bad boy, put it into Photoshop. It's a GIF for animated purposes, but the cool thing about GIFs is you can actually open them up in Photoshop and you can see all the layers that the GIF is made out of. Kind of cool. So let's zoom in here and check it out. Alright, you start activating layers and the moon comes into frame, but what is this? Why is the leading edge of the moon green? Obviously, that shouldn't be like that.
Well, why is the leading edge green? That is a great question. And Mr. Stickler for Details...
I'm a stickler for details.
Missed a detail. If you go to the web page, you can go there today and you can scroll down and you can look, and it actually describes what is happening and how it takes the photographs. It takes multiple photographs in succession, each time with a different color filter in front of the camera. Now, if he had scrolled down and read that same thing,
there's more
he would
of these.
have known the answer to the question he asked.
Oh
but he
no.
didn't. Mr. Stickler for Details missed that detail.
Oh god.
Now you might say, wait a second, that's a copy of the website from today. They certainly added it since then, and it wasn't there when Mr. Stickler for Details looked at it. Well, you would be wrong, because you are looking at a version that I picked up from archive.org on the very day that Stickler for Details made this video. That's right, it's been there the whole time. It was on the web page. When he asked why there's a green fringe on it, the answer was right there.
So, what's going on here is NASA has South Parked a dim moon image because they said it's the dark side of the moon, so obviously we think the image needs to appear darker.
Oh, you're confused. It's actually Pink Floyd that calls it the dark side of the moon. NASA calls it the far side of the moon. And it's supposed to be that color. The moon is dark gray. Its albedo is 18%.
But it's passing right in front of the Earth, in front of the sun, full sun, full moon, so that means it should be bright, really bright, bright as the clouds.
And here we see the professional photographer.
I'm a professional designer and photographer.
Showing his professionalness? I don't think he quite understands exposure. The moon is dark gray. Clouds are white. They should not be the same color.
There's a lot of problems with this, image that people have noted already. Clouds obviously don't move.
Well, the stickler for details seems to have neglected to add in his analysis of the cloud movement. He did that, right?
Oh, my head is killing me. I think I have to eat something and
analyze anything.
I'm a stickler for details.
But if you
get some pills.
Look, I did this figure 8 pattern. I zoomed in on it over the entire course of a couple hours.
This will be my last fight for now.
It does in fact move. You would not expect it to move much because it's a gigantic weather pattern. Small movements from this distance of something that size is exactly what you would expect.
But the one thing that I really dislike about this image is the fact that who's got the real moon? Commander Scott Kelly has a picture of the moon from the space station, and he's 237 miles away from his vantage point. Now, or 237,000 miles away from his vantage point. And this Discoverer satellite image is 1 million miles away, minus 237 miles the distance between Earth and the moon, yet it looks like a dim, dead rock.
And here's what I'm going to call BS on him being a photographer.
I'm a professional designer and photographer.
Because a photographer understands exposure. The photo on the left is exposed to see the stars. The Earth is barely illuminated and the moon is completely blown out. On the right one, the photograph is exposed correctly for the Earth. You can't see the stars at all. They're too dim in comparison to the Earth. And of course the moon is dark gray, as you would expect for proper exposure. Yeah, I don't think
Berlin is definitely agreeing with me. He doesn't want me to play anymore for now.
Incompetent, woefully ignorant, retards like you, son.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Well, now we get to the part where he just
What?
blatantly lies.
Here's one last image showing a famous Earth shot from the International Space Station. It's beautiful. NASA uses Nikon, like I said before, so Commander Kelly has graciously taken a picture, selfie, of his own camera, so we see what model it is. We can even see that there's a massive fisheye lens on this thing. But knowing those two things is key ingredient in fixing the photos. So in Photoshop, there's a lens distortion correction filter you can use. You just plug in what kind of camera you have, what kind of lens you have, boom, voila, it flattens the image out and corrects the distortion, whether it's pincushion or barrel distortion or even fisheye.
So here's where the stickler for details really messes up. That particular photograph was taken in 2003. And he said it was taken by Commander Scott Kelly. The problem is that Commander Scott Kelly wasn't first on the ISS until 2007.
Oops.
The stickler for details missed that by only 4 years. And that selfie that Commander Scott Kelly took of the camera with that particular lens on it, well, he got that wrong too. Because the photograph from 2003 was taken not on a Nikon camera, but on a Kodak camera with a Nikon lens. And I know that it's a Nikon lens because the EXIF information says so. And I commented about this in the video. And the Biker Scout responded with his other account, EcoMouse. And I know it's EcoMouse is him because I listened to his videos. It's the same voice. And he even has some of the same video titles and content. And he was a bit angry with me, and